Yeah. We're back. We're back.
Woo!
Memeing. A lot going on.
It's been a wild ride last couple of weeks here, especially last weekend at Pork Fest. But good to be back, virtually talking to Brian McWilliams. In person was it was
Too much.
Bit much.
Way too much. I wear thin. Wear thin. Also, what my wife calls my penis. That's its nickname. Wears thin.
That was the type of condoms that you use. Wear thin condoms. That should be a brand.
That's what I tell her. Well, I have that joke I tell about my idea for a tattoo stand called, basically, I'll tell you the concept first and the name later, but it's basically the idea behind it is that it sucks wearing condoms, and this tattoo parlor just tattoos what looks like a condom on your penis. So that way, if you're having sex and the woman's like, hey, are you wearing a condom? You're like, does it look like I'm wearing a condom? She's like, I guess so. And the name of the place is Cockatoos.
See, I think the joke is great, except you need a better name than that. I don't know. Cockatoos.
Cockatoos is it's a cock and a tattoo. What better name can you possibly think of than Cockatoos, John? What possible
I guess
name?
You're right.
Yeah,
I guess you're right.
Always.
Well,
always
right.
right.
I will say this. It's better than. So Brian did stand up at Pork Fest with he opened for Lou Perez. There's a crowd gathered around.
Blackout drunk, by the way.
Brian is he's in his prime. He told me beforehand this joke he was going to tell. Now Lou Perez has you would assume more than actually I'll let you tell the joke. I don't want to ruin it. Yeah, but you tell the joke.
The joke's very simple. Yeah, it's that Lou Perez, being a proud Latin ex-man. The joke is that Lou, being Latin, he's got 2 kids, but Latin kids are like cockroaches. For every 2 you see, there's 20 in the walls.
So I'm now calling Lou Perez Papa Roach. I hope it's.
I love it. He had a great set. I can barely remember my set, to be honest. I remember none of it. I can't believe I got through it.
Half of Lou's set was callbacks to things that you said and making fun of them, but it was
yes,
good.
It was good. Yeah, it was awesome. It was a fun time had by all, and we will have on the Lions of Liberty Network. We will have Monday's show. We've got the files, so you'll have your Jeffrey Tucker interview, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday
I'm looking
Wednesday,
forward to people hearing that Jeffrey Tucker interview. Talked a lot about the RFK speech, which I'm sure we'll be talking about, maybe some aspects of RFK today. I don't know if we'll get into that. There's a lot to talk about.
There's too much else to talk. I'll say there's so much SCOTUS stuff to talk about. We should save RFK for another time, especially because my Wednesday show is all about RFK.
I can't even keep track of all the SCOTUS stuff. So
they're just dropping bombs, man. I mean, it's like a Gatling gun of rulings. It's crazy. And on a holiday weekend, it's weird. It's like, we always criticize the government because they always drop this shit on like a holiday weekend. And SCOTUS has said, they're like, well, we got a lot of controversial things we're going to rule on. Let's do it right at 4th of July weekend. Bam, bam, bam. Although I celebrate it. It's making us more free, in my opinion. So I'm for all of them.
Yeah, and it makes the 4th of July a lot more interesting. Being with family, friends, something to talk about. Make things spicy.
Yeah. We need. No shortage of conversation. Really, I think what should be done is if people disagree about, like the SCOTUS ruled on, tied into affirmative action with colleges, that you can't discriminate based on race. And some of the stuff we saw was insane. Like the Asian students, like the 100th percentile had a 12% chance of getting into Harvard, and black students had at the same, like a 40th percentile had the exact same chance of getting into Harvard as like a 1400 SAT, perfect GPA, Asian. It's just like ridiculous stuff. But they ruled against that, which pissed people off. And there's been some funny responses. I mean, I tweeted out one.
I have.
Yeah, go.
You have one. You can start if you have it ready to go.
Well, I mean, I have one. This is it's not so much a meme, but I'll say Lou Perez, who we were just talking about, has been very funny on this. And one of the ones that he had that I just had brought up was that he goes, if we exist in a society that, well, I'll read it verbatim. I don't know why I'm trying to ad-lib it. He goes, it's kind of weird that a country with a systematic racism even allowed affirmative action in the first place. Like, yeah, it's a very good point. And in that vein, I mean, I had tweeted out look, if you're upset about this SCOTUS ruling about colleges not being able to discriminate and you still think they should discriminate, well, basically, you have to acknowledge that the last 60 years of progressive policies have done fuck all jack shit, haven't they? So let's try something new.
Exactly. Yeah, Lou had another tweet. I don't have it up in front of me, but it was a picture of one of the January 6th protesters with the Confederate flag over their shoulder. And someone else had tweeted that out and said something to the effect of, and they say we don't have, racism problems in this country. And now, look what the Supreme Court, did to overrule that. And Lou Perez said, well, looks like this guy will automatically be getting into Harvard. Thanks a lot, Clarence Thomas.
Right. He had another tweet too. He's like, how will a black student with a 1400 SAT ever get into Harvard now? It's just like so overblown, ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
But yeah, there's that ruling, man. Oh, you had was that the one you wanted to talk about? Or do you have another one?
Let me show you. So this is a real tweet from. It's essentially a Democrat sock account. This Erica Marsh.
I swear to God, I saw this tweet. Is this a parody account? It's the real one, right?
This woman. I don't know if anyone's ever seen her in the flesh in person, but she came out of nowhere. Like her Twitter started not that long ago, like a little over a year ago, I think, maybe 2 years ago, can't remember. But all of a sudden, she has all these followers, and she tweets out crazy shit like this. Read this verbatim. Today's Supreme Court decision is a direct attack on black people. No black person. Read that. Zero black person, people will be able to succeed in a merit-based system, which is exactly why affirmative action-based programs were needed. Today's decision is a travesty. That is the most racist tweet I've ever seen in my entire life. And now she's trying to defend it, saying, well, this is what I actually meant when I tweeted this out. I mean, but this is exactly how Democrats think. Well, we need to take care of the black people. We need to take care of the minorities. They can't fend for themselves. They need us because if not for us, if not for how much we care about other people, then they would all just be, scrummaging around for crumbs.
These idiots would be eating each other. I mean, what would they? Their society would collapse. They'd be living in huts. I mean, yeah, it's so racist, man. Well, it's good to see it blatantly on this account, which, as you said, is like a ridiculous Democrat promotion propaganda account. It's good to see them just completely stick their foot in the mud, shoot themselves in the foot, combining metaphors here. Yeah, it's awesome to see. Love it. But then it wasn't, and it's not just that ruling though either, because just today, this morning, I was working out, and I didn't even know this happened until my trainer told me. He's like, man, people are pissed off. They're taking away, the student loan thing's gone. And he's like, and you don't have to make a website for Christians. You don't have to make a website for gays. You don't have to bake a cake anymore. They ruled on that. I'm like, I didn't even hear about that. It's awesome. Good.
Your trainer is so plugged in to the political news.
Well, it's funny. He's a libertarian who's just like a natural libertarian, right? But it's it is funny that he's plugged into the news because he's out there working out at 6 a.m. I just listen to the radio. But, he told me that and I was like, awesome, man. But I was telling him the thing that's so crazy about the bake the cake shit and all this other stuff is these people, the fact that in a normal world, if you ask somebody hey, can you put this, bake this cake? And the person goes, oh, I'm not comfortable with it. You go, all right, well, all right, fuck you if that's the reason, but I'm going to go find somebody else to do it. I'm not going to sue them. I'm not going to try to force them to make the cake. I'm not going to take it to the courts. I'm just going to be find somebody else. Because guess what? There's a million other cake makers and website designers and whatever fuck else out there in the marketplace. And guess what? If enough people object to this person, they'll go out of business or their other competitors will grow. Yeah. That's how it works.
All of that, very valid. 100% agree. But also, do you really want someone to bake your cake or make your website who hates you? Why? Why
Especially
do you want
with stuff you're
going
to eat. The website, all right, there's got to be something hidden in there, but the cake, I don't want. I'm never going to eat a cake that somebody that hates me makes. What are you thinking?
It's would a Jewish person go to get their birthday cake or wedding cake made by a Nazi? No, that's crazy. Would you want to make a Nazi cake?
Okay, I think most of the bakeries in Ukraine have already been bombed, John. So they're not going to be making many cakes.
Thankfully, Vladimir Putin has eradicated the Nazis.
He's taking out all the Nazi bakers, so the Jews in Ukraine don't have to get their cakes made by them anymore.
Just a aside on the Ukraine thing there. I didn't realize this. So when, and there are Nazis in Ukraine, I'm not disputing that. But when Vladimir Putin says he wants to denazify the Ukraine, apparently what he means is getting rid of Zelensky. Like that's what he means by denazification. And Zelensky Zelensky's Jewish, I believe. But he's in bed with these Nazis, which is just insane.
Yeah, well, there's always the rumors that, because again, why is Zelensky keep pushing this? And I was listening to Aaron Mate today on Russell Brand's podcast, talking about how these far right forces are basically like, hey, if you back out of this war, if you lose, we're going to kill you, like you're going to be hanging from a tree. So I think it's part grifting and part that he's just worried. He's like, if I stop, they're going to kill me, like I'm a dead man, which is kind of interesting.
Might be a part of it. I mean,
it's still cowardly though, because you're willing to, instead of saying like, well, I don't care, I will end this war because it's killing my entire nation is being destroyed and we have no chance of winning this. A brave man would still stop the war and just take the penalty.
Literally a generation of Ukrainian men just gone,
wiped out. Wiped out.
It's insane.
Just like Bill Clinton and Joe Biden wiping out a generation of black men with their 3-strike rule in the drug war.
So I didn't really. The other thing I was going to show was just to talk about we just talked about student loans, so I'm not going to pull that one up. But just to expand on that a little bit, and then a little back and forth. Like I think the important takeaway on this is, I think people are so quick to jump in to say, well, they decided, it was consensual. They decided to spend this money. They decided to spend this money on a college degree that's almost worthless for a liberal arts degree on art history or whatever the heck else it is. Yes, they did make that decision. And yes, that was a stupid decision. But at the same time, the incentives that are in play with these loans, which you cannot get rid of them. You go bankrupt, They stick with you. So it sets up this incentive of just this escalation intuition where this predatory lending can continue. And that's the root of the issue. Just paying off the student loans doesn't fix that. So yes, it's good that the loans aren't going to be paid off, but still at the same time, like the root cause is still there and it's going to continue to fester.
Yeah, 100%. And you hit the nail on the head. It's that we've looked at the accelerating cost of education, and every single time they expand access to education, expand the loans, the cost of education goes up, which really, when you think about it, you'd say, okay, if access is to education in a marketplace that exists, you'd say there would be all these new agencies, new universities that should pop up to take care of the excess people, and the cost should go down. But it never does, because they know that the government's there to prop this shit up. And like you said, you've also got the entire complex now convincing people that they have to go to college, which is nonsense. So everybody believes they have to buy into it, gets these loans, and then finds out, oh, everybody went to college, so nobody's got an advantage here. There's no jobs to be had unless you're a incestuous simp that does go to Harvard to get taught by Fauci or Lori Lightfoot. So you just suck living on your couch. None of the problems are solved.
Well, the market is starting to respond to the insane tuition costs, and a lot of I think, especially men, are starting to realize it's not worth going to college because when you get into corporate America, guess what? They don't want to promote you.
Right? Yeah.
The corporate ladder does not want to promote white males. It's just the way it is. But for example, I've just read an article this week on Pennsylvania. Major universities, Penn State, University of Pittsburgh, and their branch campuses, which Penn State has an insane amount of branch campuses. Pitt has like 5 or 6. But to the enrollment on each one over the past 10 years, like every single branch campus in the state, except for one, is down like in excess of 50%. Wow. Some of these went from like thousands and thousands, from like 6,000 to 2,000. So the market is reacting. So you would think like they would say, okay, our numbers are going down, let's lower the prices. But there must be some sort of weird upside down profit motive where it doesn't make sense to. I don't know. It's just so distorted.
I'm sure there's so much that we don't know going on in the back end of all this with deal making and government incentives. And I agree. It's fucking madness. But we got a commenter. I can't even say his name because it's in looks like Chinese or Japanese lettering. But he says he's a Gen Z who decided not to go to college and best decision of his life. So, yeah, exactly, man. I mean, look, I've said this publicly. The thing that I got out of college was people like John, and my friends at the Lions of Liberty started at Penn State. That's really the only tangible benefit I got out of it because I had an English degree. I had to start out, I didn't learn anything that I would say led me to be a better writer, a better communicator in any way. I came into public relations in Los Angeles and had to learn, that craft as an intern and then cutting my teeth, not making much money.
I do think like when we were like, I think we were sort of like the tail end of this where like a college degree still like had a little bit of like, it was a piece of paper meant something actually kind of almost regardless of major. That time is gone. I mean, we're way past that now. I mean, cause freaking everybody and their mother has an MBA or, I mean, people ask me, are you going to go get your MBA? Why would I do that? Why would I spend all this time? And it's ridiculous.
I thought about it just to say, okay, if I do end up staying or want to go corporate, right? If I want to join a bigger agency, I would basically need an MBA at this point because I don't have one. But and that's what's sad though too, is like I would have to just to even the playing field. You said because everybody's got one. Even though I have 20 years of experience running doing every category of business possible through an agency, I would need that MBA to be considered, which is just idiotic because it's kind of like the symptom of Bud Light. You've got this dumbass shithead that graduates from Harvard, right? That they plop into this position, and as you said, probably because she's a woman and blah blah blah, has never really had a ton of real world experience, and yet is given the reins to this company, which she then thoroughly destroys. And the latest, by the way, on Bud Light is that they're never getting back. Like they're saying 20% at minimum. They're never getting that crowd back, which makes sense. And they just had their worst sales week last week. The worst. It's getting worse and worse for them every week. And they just don't get it. The CEO doesn't get it. This moron's still out there saying, well, we would still work with influencers like Dylan Mulvaney. It's like, dude, stop taking interviews. Like their entire PR staff should be fucking fired and shot into the sun.
There's going to be lawsuits. I would be surprised if there are not Bud Light board members who sue either individuals or sue Bud Light for this, how it went down. Because it's just so negligent on behalf of the shareholders.
Yeah.
And there was a talk that I heard, interesting talk that I heard at PorkFest talking about ESG. And I don't want to ruin it because I do plan on having this guy on my show in a couple of weeks. But essentially what it talked about was ESG. There is, at least in the near term, probably a sunset coming on, at least to a degree, mostly because interest rates are going up. The economic environment is getting tougher. There's going to be layoffs. There's just less budget to pay for all this stuff unless you're at a huge mega corporation. Yeah. So a lot of smaller companies will start to get rid of this stuff, and it's just not going to be profitable.
Dude, even the bigger companies, you're seeing a lot of layoffs for their DEI staff is getting laid off. It's like, thank God, man, get rid of this trash ass garbage.
Yeah, I don't think it's going away forever, but I think at least in the near term, I think it'll kind of simmer down. But yeah, anyway, it was an interesting talk. Simmer down now.
Simmer down now.
Simmering down. Let's stay on track here because we do have limited time.
Yeah, I got to go to San Diego to see my gay cousins. They said
Dave Rubin talking about how do you say her name? Is it Karine
Jean-Pierre?
The White House press secretary. How old do you think she is, Brian? Have you seen this?
Well, black don't crack. I don't know if lesbian black is less likely to crack or more likely to crack. I'm going to say that she is 38. That's my guess.
She is 73. No, I'm kidding.
By the way, did you hear her call herself a historical figure? I mean, she's not wrong in that she's the first gay, black, whatever, a mentally handicapped person to take over the press corps position. So she is, but what... it just pissed me off. It's like you're a historical figure for all the wrong reasons, lady. Like it's despicable to bring that up and call yourself a historical figure. Get the fuck out of here.
I would guess mid-30s. So we're in the same ballpark. And here's what old Dave Rubin says.
Well, that's a good question. Well, they say black don't crack, so she's got to be on the young side. Early 30s. How about a 32? She's 48.
Wow.
Corinne Jean-Pierre is 48 years old. She is older than me. God, that is embarrassing because I always think of her as a child. In some ways, as much as I criticize her, I'm always like, I don't want to be so critical of her because it's like she just got out of college. She's 48 years. Man, black don't crack. Good for her. Good for her.
It is
funny,
crazy.
though.
I was.
She does sound like a child. I mean, it's great. There's something to that. It's like when hot girls say, like, I'm a little baby girl. It's like that, I guess. That's her technique. As I said, I was on another show talking about how Joe Biden should be using selective dementia now, and he could probably get away with it to get out of answering like Hunter Biden questions. And Corinne Jean-Pierre can use that, selective mental deficiency. All right,
Did you see Biden's recent interview on MSNBC where he just gets off? He stands up, like the interview's over, but the camera's still like on both of them, and he stands up, shakes the person's hand, just walks off the set. Well, it's still like a frame. It's like, what the heck is happening?
I love it.
He's gone.
Completely. All right, so here's my quick one here, just because we're talking about Bud Light. I'll share this real fast, then I'll go to another one. But it just cracked me up from this Twitter account called Raised Right. It's got gay mini fridge listed on like Craigslist, and it's a Bud Light mini cooler.
150. That's a good price for a mini fridge. Even a
that
gay
is,
one.
that's like a big mini fridge. Yeah, that's that's like a professional.
If you're gonna put it in your garage, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let me show my other one. There's I have a bunch of COVID ones. For some reason, COVID is popping up again in my feed, and so I have COVID-centric ones. So let me share this first one. This is from Declaration of Memes, a Liberty Cappy in Declaration of Memes. Pretty funny. It's got the guy from the Twilight Zone in front of it, the old school Twilight Zone. He goes, imagine, if you will, that there's a 99.97 chance that you won't crap your pants, but you're forced by government to wear diapers just in case. Now, imagine you must wear those diapers to prevent your neighbors from crapping their pants.
That's good.
It's so stupid, but fucking funny.
Did you see the back and forth between I think it was on David Spade's show with Dana Carvey?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, talk about Fauci.
It was
and
awesome.
shots.
I don't have it, but it's good to see comedy now is just open to criticizing how absurd. I mean, a little late to the party. Would have been nice if they were doing this at the time, but at least in hindsight, they're looking back on how absurd it was.
I just played it on Good Morning Fuckhead, which you guys should join. If you want to support our show, you can go to Lions of Liberty's Pride, the lionsofliberty.locals.com or patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. And you can get our bonus shows, my morning rant shows, because that's what I just did this on recently. Let me find the poll.
I like how Brian always says /, because when you're typing the web addresses, you might do it backwards, but you should never ever use.
What can I say, man? I'm an old school man. Now, as I tease that I have it, I can't fucking find it. God damn it. Well, whatever. Show your next meme, and I'll try to find it in the intro. I'll pull it up.
I have no more memes to show. That's all I had today. I had the other one to just to talk about the Supreme Court thing with the student loan ruling, but I don't know. Funny pork fest stories. Anything funny happened? Hilarious.
Well, I have more memes, but I got this video. So let me share my screen real quick here. I will share one more funny thing that happened at PorkFest, because I was telling this. I told this on the Boring podcast last night too. Okay, here you go. Here's Dana Carvey and David Spade.
I miss COVID.
I know. Dude, you know what I knew? There was trouble when anyone that came to our country didn't have to get a vaccine. And I go, if you're telling me I can't go to work, but everyone coming in doesn't have to get one, I go,
well, once we found out when Fauci said, okay, I'm sorry. If you've had 2 boosters and 2 vaccines, you can give COVID to another guy who's had 5 vaccines and 4 boosters. What's the difference between a vaccine and a booster? I don't know. It's just more vaccine, but booster sounds better. Anyway, a guy with 25 vaccines would get and give COVID to another guy with 25 vaccines. That's why I'm introducing the daily COVID shot. Every day you get a shot. By the time you get to your car, you got no immunity. But it's a beautiful 39 seconds.
And when he says that, he takes his glasses off and shows his eyes and face all fucked up from the vaccine. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've totally lost my StreamYard screen. Am I still here? That was weird.
You're still here, but you're a little bit choppy.
Oh, weird. Yeah, that was weird. All right, so there's that. The one thing about Pork Fest I thought was pretty funny, I'll share, is the Pork Bros. And do you remember we were standing around the bonfire, and I had some things in my system. So we're standing at the bonfire and we're drinking this apple cider that Odie bought off a guy in a cart, has like a cart of apple cider, which was just straight moonshine. I mean, it was.
So if I was to be selling apple cider around the bonfire in jugs, he had gallon jugs and half-gallon jugs, which good, that's great. So I bought a half-gallon jug, and I said, "Do you have any cups?" No cups. No, it's selling jugs apple cider. Yeah.
Jug only, and then we made a jug band. It was great. But no, somebody leaned into me that we were talking to. It might have been this guy Josh we were talking to, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, just watch out. There's a bunch of feds behind you." I was like, "Feds behind me? Okay." So I turn around, I look, and it's the most 21 Jump Street ass little, pretty boy surfer fed fuckers I've ever seen. They stuck out like a sore thumb, because if you ever been to Pork Fest, it's a bunch of like neck beards and nerds and two hot chicks that they all are looking at, and then a bunch of fat guys drinking IPAs. Nobody's drinking number one Michelob Ultra, which is what these guys were carrying around.
I did
Michelob
not see
Ultra.
that.
Oh, you didn't see this? Yeah, you guys were even more fucked up than I was at that point. But I turned around there. It's like these guys are clean shaven, in fantastic shape, in like tight black t-shirts with backwards hats and like surfer hair, carrying Michelob Ultra, and like one guy's like smoking a little joint, and they're like, these fuckers are feds. This is 21 Jump Street. Like, what are you idiots? Send in old fat men drinking IPAs, and maybe you'll fool somebody into thinking that you guys aren't feds. But everybody's just looking at them long enough. They eventually just were like, all right, I guess we're found out.
Just find your ugliest agents and send them to Pork Fest. No disguise needed. Just the ugliest ones. They'll fit right in.
Pull the people out of the basement.
I'm not saying everybody's ugly.
No. We're getting better looking every year I go to Pork Fest. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Better every year. All right, I'll share my last
turnout this year too. I was incredibly impressed with how many people were there this year. Definitely, it was like huge. 2 or 3 times the size the last time we were there.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so this is another COVID one. This is pretty funny. So from shipwreck.show, not familiar with this, but this chick says, replying to Timcast, I've got 7 vaccinations and I don't have any side effects. And this guy, Weeper4You, replies, you have green hair and consider yourself a cat. You are the side effect.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, my God.
That's a perfect comeback in every possible way. Genius.
I don't know if you didn't say that. She has her pronouns there, and they are meow and meow self, of course, with a rainbow and then a cat emoji. So,
Of course. So there you go. I think that's all the memes that I've got for today. Another fantastic show, John.
Fantastic. And I'll tell you what, you know how you know that at least Brian is not a bigot is that Brian's about to get in a car, travel with his family down to San Diego to visit his gay cousin and his gay cousin's
who are the godparents of my children, legally.
At least half of this Lions of Liberty duo is not a bigot.
Yeah.
I'm not a bigot either. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and we have a black friend.
Yes, so we got all the bases are covered.
I started the show. The show's, by the way, I named it "Who Will Discriminate Against the Asians Now?" because I do think that's another funny thing. Like these Asians been discriminated for college stuff. Who's going to discriminate them now, John? Who's going to come after the Asians? It's got to be us. Yeah, we have to step into the void.
It'll be interesting to see politically how this all plays out with these Supreme Court rulings, and I don't know. It'll be interesting times indeed. I just hope actually some debates happen, but we can get into that on another show.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, well, I'm off to San Diego. Everybody, please subscribe to the Lions of Liberty Network feed. Hit that notification, hit that like button, especially if you're watching on YouTube, since we are still heavily shadow banned on there, despite having 6,000 plus subscribers. None of you ever get to see the video, so make sure you hit the notification button. And thanks to you who are watching on Rumble and every other social. So, Goodbye.
See you.